How's it, punters? Welcome back to the Best Sports Betting Podcast. We've got a lot of recaps that we're going to run through in this episode. We've got no Premier League this week due to the World Cup qualifier or international break. So not too much soccer to talk about in our previews, but we are going to have a look at some of the rugby as well as the T20 and the Grand Prix in Brazil that's taking place. But let's start off with the Premier League, Simon. Well called on City. I fancied United for a bit of a sneaky one there. It wasn't even close. It was never a runner. Very, very comfortable one for City there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we actually had one of the best weekends of the year so far from a betting perspective. We obviously had that 3.4 odds winner with City beating United to 0, and then also at much smaller odds, around 6 to 10, Leicester and Leeds, both teams scoring, and that landed in the first half, which is always nice. So yeah, it was good. And then you had a winner with Arsenal and also with Hamilton, if I recall.
Yeah, I had the nice bet on GBet, and it came in quite nicely. It was a $400 bet. I'll see if I can bring it up here, and it ended up landing. We missed out on our. Here we go. Here it was. It was South Africa to beat Bangladesh, India to beat Afghanistan, Liverpool drawn a bet against Atletico. Obviously, this is well before the weekend. Arsenal to beat Watford, and then Hamilton to finish in the top three, and that paid out a grand. Unfortunately, the Scotland Australia game, I got Australia at 1.58, and they went out closer to evens, closer to the match.
Sure.
Bit of a bummer there, especially
Yeah.
considering that the 1 to 12 that I fancied on South Africa landed. So
Yeah. Pity.
yeah, it was a good weekend. Picked up some nice wins though. But going back to the Premier League,
Hmm.
United. I think the managers' days are really numbered. There was what, like 3 or 4 managers sacked last week.
Yeah, things to be. I mean, obviously coming into the Christmas time, this is always an exciting period in the league, and there's always a lot of changes around this time. And I think going into the transfer season, a lot of people want a fresh start.
Yeah, it's some very interesting moves going on over there. And let's talk about Chelsea dropping points against Burnley. Chelsea, I really fancy
Sure.
Chelsea on the handicap. It was one of my other bets there that I
Yeah, I mean
targeted.
that was definitely the biggest coupon buster I can imagine this weekend.
Yeah,
I mean 29.
70% possession, 25
Yeah,
shots.
that's it. Yeah, I mean, if you include off shots off goal to 29, I mean, it's quite a few shots. I mean, I didn't see much of the game at all actually, and so I can't say whether Chelsea were really unlucky or that Burnley played out of their socks. But I think any team, and I mean any team, going to Stamford Bridge and getting a point, I think will be quite chuffed this season, to be honest.
Yeah, I was switching between that game and I think it was the cricket at the time, and Chelsea would just to score that goal, went on cruise control, and I was like, oh gosh, this is going to end 1-0. And
Yeah,
so I didn't actually catch the Burnley goal, but quite an upset there. Then we had Newcastle. I fancied them for a result against Brighton. Somehow they managed to get a 1-1 draw. They're not deserved at all.
yeah.
They were completely dominated by Brighton. So I was off with my call there, but well, in the sense of I was on the it was the wrong call, but I was on the right side. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we always say though, it's Newcastle the team to back as underdogs. So I mean, if you'd taken them at a double chance, you would have got, I think, just over even money. So you would have been rewarded there. So even in the horrific form they're in, I mean, Newcastle just always love the role of the underdog, and I think they often do get a point in the situations when you least expect it, especially away from home. So yeah, it's just always a team to look out for in those situations.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to be backing them in the coming weeks though. Although the new manager has been announced, the
Hmm.
old Bournemouth manager, how do you pronounce his surname?
Howie, I think.
Howie.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure he's the right man for the job, but you know what? It's better than Steve Bruce, I think.
Absolutely. Look, it does seem like I mean he he has some qualifications behind his name. I'm not sure if it's the big name everyone expected, but you'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah, time will tell.
Well, Emre turned Newcastle down, so
Yeah.
the current Villarreal manager, which is a bit surprising. I'm not sure what he was thinking there, but anyway, Howie, he's the guy who took Bournemouth from League Two into the Premier League. Unfortunately, they did get relegated in the end, but they were there for a couple of
Yeah.
seasons.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's the right pedigree, but anyway. Moving on to the other big game of the weekend, West Ham Liverpool. We also fancied West Ham pull to get a result or have the chance of getting a result there, and they did. They actually ended up beating Liverpool 3-2.
Yeah.
Quite a shock result. They moved up to third now, West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not quite the upset as the Chelsea game, but I mean, Liverpool obviously dropping points to West Ham is always a bit of a surprise, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was also in a lot of people's
Mm.
accumulators. So Liverpool would have let a few people down there for
Yeah,
sure.
I could at the 1.7. I think they were trading around there. I just
Yeah.
couldn't include them
Mm.
in too many accumulators. It was just too short. And I mean, West Ham, the price was massive, 4.3 around there. So well done to any West Ham backers. Then the another bogey teams, the dud teams, Everton drew 0-0 with Spurs. A red card in that game.
Yeah.
Not too much to talk about. The red card came pretty late in the game, so it didn't really affect the outcome. Not the most exciting game. I think there were maybe like 2 shots on target or something the entire game. Bit of a dull one from two teams that I really wouldn't want. In that situation, I probably would have bet both teams to score, and I would
Mm.
have just got completely burnt.
Yeah. No, they're not. None of them are playing very exciting football at the moment. I must be honest.
And then Arsenal beating Watford, kind of. I, Arsenal. Yeah, I mean they're probably the deserved winners there, but maybe the goal was a bit controversial.
Mm.
And then also just looking at the league as a whole, there were a couple of red cards over the weekend, which is also interesting. I think there were 3 in total on Saturday and Sunday. So cards backers would be pretty happy there. But yeah, no Premier League coming up, so we're going to jump into our recap of some T20, Simon. And South Africa put on a masterclass against England, and
Yeah. Well,
unfortunately, just not enough to go through.
yeah, sure, it is unfortunate, but I remember, you and I were actually sort of debating what the price on England would be against the Proteas, and you were a bit closer than me. I said your guess was 1.5 or 5 to 10, and I said 1.6. Well, they actually opened as short as 1.45, which I must say, I think for any T20 game, those are dangerous odds for the bookies to post. I really do. I'm not sure, any of the top 4 or 5 sides are that far apart. When it comes to T20, especially. And look, England, as we've mentioned before, definitely the most consistent side. But when I saw those bets, I really, really wanted to bet on South Africa. And it was quite funny. I was actually on my way. I spent the weekend in Tilbach, and my wife and I were taking turns driving. And I took out my phone and I put in a bet of SA to beat England and a City to win to nil, which was obviously the other
Ooh.
one we tipped for
What you get,
200
like 10 to
bucks.
1 or something on that?
Yeah, or 8 to 1 or 200. And unfortunately, we'd hit a bad area of reception. And I just kind of thought, oh, well, I'll place it when we get there or later. And I never got my bet down.
It's always like that though. Hey. It's
Ah,
happened to me so many times where I'll have a team to score next, and I'm like, oh gosh, the bet doesn't go through or something like that. And then I'm like, oh whatever. And then what
yeah.
happens? The goal comes.
Yeah, sure. So that would have been a nice, easy 1,500 bucks, but unfortunately, it was just not great timing. So yeah, I wish I got that down. But yeah, unfortunately for South Africa, obviously it doesn't make a difference, and they're not going to qualify. But heroic performance, and
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be interesting to
good
see.
tournament performance overall. To be honest, just
Yes,
the one loss against Australia, and to be
yeah,
honest, like I expected us to lose to England as well. So
absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, our first game was a little wishy-washy, but I think every performance that we put in after that was pretty much close to full marks. I think we did very well.
yeah, so just unfortunate for us there. And I actually fancy while I was watching the match, I fancied England to win, even though we scored like what 180,
Mm,
190 they needed or whatever it was.
yeah,
As soon as Roy went down, I just knew it was over.
yeah,
That was I think the crucial moment in that game that swung all the momentum back to
absolutely.
South Africa. I honestly think we would have lost, or England would have been much closer if he'd stayed in, because they were looking on fire, those two.
Yeah, look, I mean, they have a fantastic batting lineup. I mean, if you have one or two of those putting in a good innings, you're looking good.
Then Rabada coming through with a hat trick of epic proportions right at the end there. I think 2 were caught in the
Mm,
deep. I think it was even the third one that might have kind of square deep as well. So pretty happy for him. He was ecstatic about that. I saw it coming after the second one. I'm like, this has to be a hat trick. They have to go for this. And I was just hoping that he wasn't going to give one of those, those wide leg side balls that so
yes,
often happens on a hat trick ball. The guy kind of just
yes,
fluffs his lines completely. But
yes.
But yeah, it was a very entertaining match. One of the few T20 matches that I kind of watch in its entirety, and I really enjoyed it. Then, Simon, we had the Mexican GP. There was some upsets in the qualifying, and yeah, Verstappen picking up the win there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as expected, the Mexicans always come out to support Sergio Perez, or Checo as he's better known. And there was a massive vibe there. It really is a great Grand Prix to watch from that perspective. I mean, you could actually, every time he went past, especially near the main grandstand, I mean, there's lots of grandstands, but there's one sort of big one near the finish, and you could hear like an audible roar. It's quite amazing. And he did well. He finished in third. Look, I tipped him as a winner. It was a very, very, very speculative bet, but he ended up on the podium. So I guess we probably should have taken that bet. Probably it would have been around 11, 12 to 10, but we went for broke there anyway. But yeah, it was an interesting start. I mean, Verstappen overtook Bottas, who was actually in pole position in the very early stages. It was actually coming into the first corner, and then he just continued to extend his lead. I mean, Verstappen really just he's been leading in so many laps of this whole season, and he really is such a good front runner. Um, so yeah, he I mean, I don't think he needed to give Bottas the amount of space that he did give him. And obviously, it's disappointing to see Bottas not capitalize on his grid position because he's given up quite a few pole positions in the past. But I mean, full credit to Red Bull. I think that they were flawless in their pit stops, and I don't think there was much that Hamilton could do to really gain on Verstappen, who actually won by 16 seconds, more than 16
Yeah,
seconds
once
in the
he
end.
once he took the lead, I think it was after the first corner.
Mm.
It was pretty much done, eh?
Yeah, it was actually a more interesting duel, which I think was obviously also great for the fans, was actually between Hamilton and Perez because Verstappen just I mean he ran away with it, but Hamilton did manage to hold off Checo right until the end, despite Perez coming quite close on a number of occasions to passing him. But yeah, it was a good race. I mean, obviously nothing drastic happened besides that start, but I think it was just another excellent performance from Red Bull.
All right, then we had some rugby over the weekend where Scotland beat Australia, busting my bet, and South Africa looked good against Wales. Struggled a little bit at times, but ended up winning by, I think it was five. I know you fancied the minus there. I fancied the plus. I ended up going with
Yeah,
the 1 to 12.
yeah.
Pretty entertaining match, but we're going to be chatting about some of the upcoming ones there when South Africa take on Scotland. But what were your thoughts? Did you catch any of
Yeah,
the
I didn't.
highlights?
I didn't actually see. I didn't actually see any of the game. But you're right. Yeah, I mean, I thought that handicap looked a little short. Obviously, tricky with a friendly though. You just never know if teams are going to really put in 100%. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think this match against Scotland this weekend is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think we should, you know, perhaps look at backing the Scots on the plus after their performance against Australia. But anyway, let's have a look at the week ahead. As I said, no Premier League, not too much football to talk about. We're going to jump into some World Cup qualifiers. I've had a look at these fixtures, Simon. There's nothing that really stands out to me. Even the bets that I like, I can't take. I'm not the biggest fan of betting on these. The one standout match was kind of Italy against Switzerland, but even there, it's Italy at 1.55 is just not
Yeah,
that interesting.
yeah, nothing too much. I mean, I like Bafana play Ghana on Sunday at 9, and the Ghanaians are 4-5, so 8-10 to win the match. I'm not sure how much this match will really matter to both sides because it looks like both will qualify regardless of what happens. But yeah, that'll be a good one to watch. Another one, Angola, Egypt on Saturday. That should be quite good. But looking back at European teams, I mean, there's still obviously quite a few looking for places in that final 32 for the World Cup. Spain and Greece on Thursday might be good. Italy and Switzerland on Friday, and then Croatia versus Russia on Sunday look like quite interesting matches. But yeah, I mean it's difficult. I think qualifiers are very tricky from a betting perspective.
Yeah,
So
especially with the away sides. Just looking at like
yeah.
Portugal 1.29 against Ireland, I can't take anything there.
Mm,
Even Spain 1.39, 1.4 against Greece, like playing away. It's another
sure.
one that I really can't back. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't really have too much on the World Cup qualifier side. Although I was just looking now, South Africa are playing on Thursday, and they are playing against Zimbabwe, and they're 1.51, which is not too bad.
Mm.
considering Bafana's recent form. So I might pop that into an accumulator for this weekend. I think it's going to be a very small accumulator.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get too involved with some of those matches. Are there any bets that you have for us there?
No, no. I just was wanted to have a little look at the lineups, at the fixtures, but there's nothing really that stands out to me at all.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a dry betting week. Let's jump over to some of the friendlies, the rugby friendlies that are taking place. Scotland. Well, we've got Italy versus Argentina. We've got Scotland taking on the Box. We've got Ireland taking on New Zealand. We've got England against Australia. You can make a nice accumulator with the favourites there, I feel. South Africa should be beating Scotland, so that's 1.4 there. We've got New Zealand 1.2 against Ireland. I'm going to pop that in the accumulator as well. And then England should have no trouble getting past Australia. I don't know, they're 1.15, very short, but
Mm.
I don't see Australia beating them after the performance against Scotland.
No, no. I think both those teams look pretty safe bets. I mean, I think you're good there. I mean, those are nice little short legs to short odds bets to add into your ACCA.
And the handicap for South Africa is -5, which is pretty tempting, to be honest. -5.5 against Scotland. That is pretty tempting.
Yeah, I mean, I only look back as far as 1999, but Scotland have never beaten South Africa in a single test. Look, some of the matches have been fairly close encounters, but I must say I still expected a slightly bigger line than 7 points. I mean, obviously, I think
Well, you
Scotland aren't.
expected around seven. The Lions five and a
Oh,
half.
sorry, I expected around seven.
Yeah,
Absolutely. The Scots aren't quite as accomplished as Wales, especially in recent years. Um, but yeah, I'm always reluctant to back a side to cover a handicap, as a favorite in a friendly. But I would lean towards South Africa on the minus here.
yeah,
Obviously, they didn't manage to cover the handicap against Wales last week, and I guess we were quite lucky in some regards. But I still expected something closer to 7 points, 7-8.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also
So
because Scotland beat Australia that's been
yeah,
taken into account in the price. But
sure.
this handicap, yeah, if you're going to have a bet, yeah, I'd definitely say go with the -5.5. I'm just going to go with
Mm,
straight win in South Africa
yeah.
because it's an accumulator. I don't want to have that one leg that's going
Right.
to bust out in a short leg accumulator. It's one thing to keep in mind. Don't add too many high odds if you're taking small odd or short odd accumulators. Then there's some T20. We've got the semis, so all the action
Yeah.
is now accumulated into the two semi-finals, and we've got some interesting fixtures there. We've got England taking on New Zealand and Australia taking on Pakistan. I think the Australia-Pakistan match is going to be a cracker.
Yeah.
I can't pick a
Absolutely.
winner there, although I do fancy Australia as the underdogs, believe it or not, at just over evens.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I said last week, I think Pakistan and England look the most promising sides, and that could still be the final as it
Hmm.
stands. Um, I mean, England as 5 to 10 favorites, I think, is a little short. I think I would have had them at about 1.66. That's where I would price that. But still not a strong enough bet for me on New Zealand. But I think they look a little short there. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the more, I mean, I think both games should be good. Don't get me wrong, but I think the more interesting game from a betting perspective to me actually is the Pakistan Australia game. And I can't say I'm surprised that Pakistan are favorites. I mean, it's only marginal. I see they have been backed in a little bit now. They're on 1.72, so there is still more money coming for Pakistan. But I know you said, Rob, that they can be quite an unpredictable side. But I
Hmm.
mean, they've got some absolutely brilliant batsmen. I think. I mean, Rizwan and Baba Azam, when they're in form, I mean, I think they can smash any bowler that England can throw at them. I'm sorry,
Oh,
that
yeah,
Australia can
Australia.
throw at them.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll
but I
see that for
still,
the final, hopefully.
yeah, maybe. But I still think Australia have the upper hand in terms of bowlers, but not by much. By
Yeah, and
very
also
little. I
they're just
think.
not as inconsistent as Pakistan. That's another thing that I'm
Yeah,
taking into consideration. You just never know what's going to happen with Pakistan.
yeah, no, absolutely. But I think, look, I think both these games should be good. I do think England are a little short there. I don't know what's holding me back there. I suppose because I think England,
I
England
don't
are
know.
have been the most consistent team. So to back New Zealand, they
Yeah,
would be a little bit contrary to
I
to
think
what I've been
England win
seeing.
that one quite handily. To be honest, I don't. Even
Yeah,
even the match against the Proteas, they still look good.
yeah,
It
no, they
was
did.
just a great. We just had a really good time with the bat, and
Yeah.
that was fun to do. So, or He
Yeah.
scored that 96. So you take that away from South Africa, and it's very, very much a par score.
Yeah, I did
Um,
see, and I forget his name's escaped me now, but there's a South African tipster on Twitter who's on 10 T20 bets in a row winners, and
wow.
he's back. I think Henrik, I think his name is,
Oh,
and he's back.
Henrik. Oh,
He,
yes, yes. Henrik,
I think
yes.
it is. I think that's his name. He's backing Pakistan to beat Australia. So if you want to get behind someone who's on very good cricket betting form, maybe back Pakistan, even if they are at around 1.72.
Okay, 1.8 over on GBets. And
Okay.
I'm going to slap
Yeah.
in England into my accumulator there, for them to beat New Zealand. And then we have Brazilian Grand Prix coming up.
Yeah.
You excited about that one?
Yeah, sure. I can't believe there's only four races left before the end of the season. It's really flown by. I mean, obviously, you got to a point now where Hamilton really has a lot of work to do to retain his drivers' championship title. So he'll want maximum points this weekend to put the pressure back on Max Verstappen, obviously,
Ooh,
which
wow,
he's
he's short at 1.57 though, hey?
yeah.
Yo.
Well, I mean, look, if you look the last few weeks, Red Bull have been pretty dominant. And I mean, this last week in particular, I mean, you just never ever thought Hamilton was going to catch Verstappen. It never looked like he would. It would take a huge mistake or an accident. So, look, the Interlagos is also a track which I think will favor Red Bull slightly. It's a 4.3 kilometer, 71 lap track. It's got a lot of banked corners, which is cool. So it kind of has a sort of bowl effect, you know, and sort of almost looks like the races are kind of racing down towards the middle. There's the famous Ayrton Senna S bend, and there's like a big snaking section in the middle where there's lots of very sharp turns. So it's quite a good one to watch. But yeah, looking at the sort of Verstappen Hamilton dynamic in this one, I think, as I said, I think in normal circumstances, this is more of a Red Bull track than a Mercedes. But I think if there's rain, that completely changes the situation, and which it often rains at Sao Paulo at this time of year. So if it rains, Hamilton definitely has the upper hand. There's no doubt he's a better driver than Verstappen in the rain. So that should be interesting to see. Yeah, you mentioned the odds. Verstappen 1.55 or 11 to 20, which I can't say I'm hugely surprised by considering their dominance over the last few weeks. But from a betting perspective, I was very interested to see that Perez is now, he's the sort of bookie's pick for third. He's actually ahead
Mm,
of Bottas.
far ahead of Bottas, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that's justified. I mean, look, Perez he was in his home Grand Prix last week. And I think he'll be very chuffed that he ended up on the podium. And obviously, you could say, oh well, that he'll take his momentum forward, etc., etc. But I just think that you know Bottas was on was in pole position last week, and for him to now suddenly be fourth down the list to me is a little weird. And I actually think a podium finish for Bottas. I see that I couldn't find any odds in South Africa, but I did find on Odds Checker he was about 13 to 10 for a podium finish, Valtteri Bottas. So I just think that with the
Bottas podium finish top three. I can get him here on GBets at 2.38.
2.38, okay, so closer to 14 to 10. I think that looks like a decent punt because I just think that I think the bookies are a little unjustified there in sort of swapping the favoritism between Perez and Bottas. And I think Bottas, I mean, let's not forget, Joe, he probably made a mistake early on last week in getting overtaken by Verstappen, but he finished pole. So, he's consistently up there. So I think that maybe he's not justified being favored over Perez. So I like Bottas to finish on the podium at about 14 to 10. Looks like a good bet to me.
And so it's basically crunch time. I mean, looking
Yeah.
at the table and whatnot,
Oh,
like
19 points though between Verstappen and Hamilton, which is a lot. I mean, as I said, Hamilton's gonna need maximum points
yeah.
to get a chance. I mean, looking at the overall, I think Verstappen's about 1.22, so about 1 to 5 to win the championship. So it's obviously looking like a bit of a lock, but you never know. I mean, Hamilton is the best driver of all time. Anything can happen.
I think you're going to find some disagreement with Hamilton being the greatest driver of all
Oh,
time. um, yeah, of the modern era, probably yeah, statistically wise,
Yeah,
definitely. But I
yeah.
mean,
Well, I mean,
he's,
he has more wins than any other racer.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah.
I suppose if you can't really argue with that.
No,
But
but
yeah,
I don't think he's the greatest of all time. I don't think he's, yeah, I think he's one of the greatest.
mm.
But yeah, I think his team and his car have helped propel him
Oh sure,
into greatness quite a bit. But
oh
anyway,
sure.
I like Hamilton here for a top six finish. I know it's very short, but it's for my accumulator, 1.2, whereas the top
Okay.
three finish is 1.3. So I'd rather go for the top six than
Yeah,
the top three at that price.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm going to snap that into the accumulator, which is now up to 6 bets. Ooh, South Africa Zimbabwe is looking a bit dodgier now, to be honest. Maybe I should take a draw no bets. What odds are we getting? We've got South Africa to beat Zimbabwe. We've got South Africa to beat Scotland. We've got New Zealand to beat Ireland in the rugby. England to beat Australia in the rugby. England to beat New Zealand in the cricket. Hamilton top six finish at 1.2. I think I might swap that Bafana bet out for a draw no bet or double chance if the odds are all right. I think that's the kind of
Mm.
weak point of that accumulator. Let's see if I can get those swapped out. But otherwise, it should pay pretty well. I think I'll put on. We wanted to pay about 1,000 or so bucks. So I'm going to put. Let's pop in South Africa here. Let's see what the odds are for draw no bet. Do they have it here? Match? No. No markets. No markets. Ooh. 2 days to go and there's only a win draw win market. I think I'm going to have to take that one out then. If I
Sure.
can't get a draw no bet.
Yeah.
So we're getting 3.5. I will put on. Let's put on 487 bucks just to even out the balance that I've got going over here on GBets. And that 486 bucks is going to return 1,753 rand. Let's lock that one in, put it through, and hopefully we can have another winner. It's been pretty good. We've won our last two
Yeah.
rather,
No, on a
like
bit of a
bigger
run.
bets. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can. And they've been accumulators, which I usually don't put much faith in, but hopefully we can pick up another winner there. So, guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Best Sports Betting Podcast. We'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully, we'll have some. Well, we will have some Premier League to chat about then, and hopefully, we can talk about the wins for South Africa in the World Cup qualifiers
Yeah, let's hope
and
so.
in the rugby. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one. Cheers.